Today we will explain a film released in 2020 titled Unhinged. The movie begins with a tense scene of a middle-aged man, Tom Cooper, pulling up to his ex-wife's house. So, there is a history of betrayal and hurt between them, as it is revealed that his ex-wife had an affair before their divorce and now lives in the house with her boyfriend. Fueled by anger and a desire for revenge, Tom takes a hammer and a tank of gasoline from his trunk. He approaches the house with a cold determination and proceeds to brutally murder his ex-wife and her boyfriend with the hammer. As their bodies lay motionless on the floor, he douses the house in gasoline and sets it ablaze. The flames quickly engulf the house, and within minutes, it explodes in a fiery inferno. Tom watches the destruction from his car, driving away without a hint of remorse on his face. The story shifts to a new character, Rachel Flynn, a newly divorced single mother who is trying to navigate the challenges of balancing work and parenting. The morning begins with a phone call from her lawyer, Andy, who informs her that her ex-husband is seeking to take ownership of her house. Rachel, already feeling overwhelmed and stressed, finds it difficult to focus on the conversation and agrees to meet with him later that afternoon. As she drops off her son, Kyle, at school, Rachel finds herself stuck in rush-hour traffic. To make matters worse, her boss calls to inform her that she has been let go from her job due to her chronic lateness. She feels a wave of despair wash over her as she realizes the weight of her financial and personal struggles. She is now in a race against time to find a solution to her problems and make sure her son and she have a roof over their head. Rachel's anger and frustration boil over as she finds herself stuck in traffic caused by a car that blocked the green light. In a moment of impulsivity, she honks her horn repeatedly in a rude and aggressive manner. The driver of the car, Tom, takes notice of her behavior and catches up with Rachel at the next red light. He proceeds to scold her for her overreaction and demands an apology, claiming that people should always apologize when they've done something wrong. Feeling embarrassed and ashamed, Rachel apologizes for her behavior. However, Tom's words and actions leave her feeling uneasy and defensive. As the light turns green, they both drive away, their paths now intertwined by a chance encounter on the road. Rachel, feeling defensive and justified in her actions, stubbornly refuses to apologize to Tom. Sensing the escalating tension between them, Kyle suggests that she apologize to defuse the situation. However, Rachel is unwilling to back down, and her words become increasingly harsh. Because Tom feeling wronged and disrespected, he becomes increasingly enraged. He tells Rachel that she has no idea what it's like to have a bad day, and promises to show her. As the light turns green, Tom speeds off in front of Rachel, braking suddenly and causing her to almost crash into his car. He then drives away, leaving Rachel and Kyle in shock and fear. After arriving at school, Rachel apologizes to Kyle for almost making him late. She promises to wake up earlier in the future to ensure that he will never be late again. However, he is preoccupied with the altercation with Tom and expresses his disappointment that Rachel had not apologized earlier. Feeling uneasy and guilty, Rachel decides to call Andy and update him on the morning's events. She arranges to meet with him at a nearby diner in 20 minutes. On the way to the diner, Rachel realizes that her car is running low on gas and stops at a nearby gas station to fill up. As she pays for the gas, she is unaware that Tom has somehow tracked her down and surreptitiously switches his cell phone with hers while she is inside the store. As Rachel approaches her car, she notices Tom's car parked nearby and becomes frightened. She asks a nearby customer to accompany her back to her car. As they drive away, the customer attempts to block Tom's way to buy Rachel time to escape. But Tom, in a fit of rage, hits the customer with his car and continues to pursue her. Rachel, now fearing for her safety and that of her son, tries to look for her phone while trying to outrun Tom. However, she soon realizes that he has taken her phone and can track her movements. In a desperate attempt to escape, Rachel hides in a parking lot, thinking that Tom might still be looking for her. But her assumptions are incorrect, as he is currently going through her phone and finding her schedule to meet with Andy at a diner. 20 minutes later, Tom arrives at the diner, posing as Rachel's old friend. He tells Andy that Rachel now has his phone and encourages him to call her. Unaware of Tom's true intentions, Andy complies with his request and calls Rachel. He informs her that he is at the diner with her old friend Tom, and describes him to her. Rachel, now realizing that Andy is with the dangerous and unstable man who has been chasing her, tries to warn him. But before she can, Tom snatches the phone from Andy's hand and smashes a mug in his face. Bleeding and dazed, Andy looks at Tom in confusion and asked him what he had done wrong for Tom to attack him. Tom explains that he had read through the messages between Andy and Rachel and had discovered that the cause of their divorce was her affair with him. Tom, consumed by his hatred of infidelity, lashes out at him as a way to seek revenge on Rachel. After revealing his twisted plan, Tom kills Andy and leaves the diner, still in contact with Rachel. He offers her a twisted game in which she must choose which person from her phone contact list he will kill next. In fear for her and her son's life, she refuses to play along, but Tom threatens to kill Kyle if she does not comply. With no other options, Rachel reluctantly chooses Deborah, she recently fired boss, as the next victim. However, as soon as the call ends, she is consumed by guilt and immediately calls the police and rushes to her son's school to pick him up, hoping to protect him from Tom's wrath. But Tom, driven by his obsession with punishing Rachel, goes to her house and finds her brother, Fred, and his fiancée, Mary, there. He takes Mary hostage and confronts Fred, blaming Rachel for his actions. Without hesitation, he kills Mary and takes Fred hostage. As Rachel rushes to pick up Kyle from school, she receives a call from Tom informing her that he has taken Fred hostage and is threatening to burn the house with him inside. Desperate to save Fred, Rachel rushes home, but as she nears her house, she encounters a roadblock set up by the police. As Tom continues to threaten Rachel and her family over the phone, a police officer bursts into the house and orders him to release Fred. In a fit of rage, he chooses to burn Fred and pushes him toward the officer. Fortunately, the officer manages to shoot Tom in the shoulder, but instead of chasing him, the police focus on putting out the fire and saving Fred. The scene then switches to Rachel and Kyle, who are still on their way. He remembers that Rachel's tablet is in the car and suggests that they use it to track Tom's location using the GPS since he is currently carrying her phone. To their surprise, they see Tom driving ahead of them in their neighbor's car. Then Rachel quickly passes Tom and alerts a police patrol driving ahead of them. Unfortunately, he sees them and rams the police car, causing a series of catastrophic crashes on the highway. Soon after, Tom continues to chase Rachel, but she can outsmart him by turning into a housing complex where her mother lives. The complicated streets and narrow alleys provide the perfect opportunity for her to shake off his pursuit. Rachel uses the opportunity to drop Kyle off at her mother's house and instructs him to activate the silent alarm and hide upstairs while she sets a trap in case Tom manages to find them. Sometime later, Tom finds Rachel's car parked beside the house. Unbeknownst to him, Rachel is waiting on the other side of the road in her mother's car. As soon as she sees him in front of the house, she immediately rams his car, flipping it. Despite the crash, Tom is still alive and attacks Rachel. His goal is not to kill her, but to make her suffer by killing Kyle. As Tom searches the house for Kyle, Rachel sneaks through the back door and goes upstairs to find Kyle in his hiding place. Unfortunately, he screams in surprise when he sees her, revealing their location to Tom. Soon after, a fierce fight ensues between Tom and Rachel as she struggle to protect Kyle. Despite her best efforts, she is no match for Tom's strength and it seems as though he will succeed in hurting her and her son. However, in a moment of desperation, she grabs a pair of scissors and stabs Tom in the eye, killing him. As the chaos comes to an end, the police arrive and inform Rachel that Fred has been rescued. At that moment, Rachel and Kyle are relieved to hear the news and rush to the hospital. As they drive, a car runs a red light and nearly causes a crash. But this time, she does not honk her horn. And with that, the film ends. This movie has several small lessons throughout it, such as the idea that one never knows what another is going through personally. It reminds us that we have to be patient and give in, because things that may seem small can have a big impact on ourselves and others.